Perhaps you have felt this call to work with plant medicine, or maybe that you are feeling more of a call to work with medicines for your own healing, physical healing, and you feel like, where do I start? This video is going to be going over what are the plant medicine 101s and how to get started with plant medicine, how to get started with working with herbs in your house if you decide to do this as part of your practice. Just really allowing you to know that it's actually very easy and you're actually already working with plants right now. But I also want to just bring in this deep gratitude that you're now calling in to work with them deeper. So I'm super excited for this video and to go into how to get started with working with herbs and plant medicine. Before we get into the video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and maybe send it to someone who, you know, in your family or community who wants to work with plants, who feels this path of connecting with plants and bringing them into their community and to their families and this education. I am so excited to get into plant medicine. To give you just more of a background, I remember growing up smelling the scents of various herbs on the stove at my grandmother, my dad's mom. And whenever I had a cold, whenever I had something, she would go in her garden, she would get a whole bunch of leaves, she would boil it on the pot, and I can still smell the cinnamon. I can still smell, you know, the yam leaves in that specific pot. And she would make me drink it, and my face as like my 6-year-old all the way until my whole life with her would be like, ooh, it's so bitter, and my mouth would salivate. But the next day I felt so strong, I felt so healed, and all of the symptoms of my cold or even my asthma were eliminated. So these are the powers of the plant medicines, and I want you to know that every single one of us have our ancient wisdom in our bones, that your ancestors worked with plants, that your ancestors connected with plants. And I really hope that throughout this video that this awakens within you, and to take in this moment to call in your inner wisdom and your inner knowing of connecting with Mother Earth, with connecting with nature. So the first thing I want to share with you on how to get started with plant medicine is that you are already connecting with the plants. Exactly what I shared, that you have the ancestral wisdom in your DNA. So really look at, what is the lineage that you came from? What did they eat? What are the plants that they were surrounded around them? You know, a lot of the times before we got into the synthetics and into Western medicine, they would go to nature. You know, everyone would have a garden. They would go to their neighbors. There was always someone in the community that would be a medicine person. And we would go to each other to exchange knowledge, but also to exchange plants. And that's been kind of lost. And my biggest intention here is to bring that back alive in us, to really trust in plants and healing again. So building a relationship with these plants has already happened, but now you've decided to go deeper. And what I would love to do is offer actually a beautiful guided meditation with your ancestral lineage and connecting with the plants that they worked with. So if you would like me to record a plant medicine meditation, bringing you to the ancestral wisdom in yourself, let me know down below with the plant emoji and say ancestral plant medicine meditation, and I will definitely put it out for you, because this is something that I did with some of my teachers, and it really brought me to this remembering of my grandmother putting that, you know, the plants on the pot, and it might have just been the smell of ginger in a soup, or it might have been, you know, a smell of rosemary, whatever it was that they used to use and put in intuitively in their food, in their teas, and in their practice. So maybe you're thinking of some things, and if you feel called to share in the comments down below, what are the things that are coming up for you? What are the things that are really, you know, coming through your knowing right now? Because when we come into that knowing, we deepen our intuition. And I know a lot of us on this path, and what I gear is to support people to connect with their intuition and their knowing through plant medicine, through their healing, through their sacral, through their knowing of their essence and their life and their being and their DNA. And these plants can really highlight that. The second thing that is very supportive for you to get started with plant medicine is knowing that less is more. One of the biggest things is, you know, there are thousands of plants, and all of my teachers and elders will always say that we will not know every single plant. There are just so many. And just think about it from a geographical standpoint. You know, the plants in where I am right now in the Algonquin region is very different, right? Compared to when I go and visit my family down in the Caribbean, it's very different. If you go to Central America, when I went to Bali. There's so many different plants that these plants are coded for that specific place, but they're also connected to the lineage of these lands. So it's beautiful how conscious these plants are, because there is consciousness in the plants and we are consciousness, and the way that they actually grow in spaces when we need them. So, you know, one of the biggest things again is less is more. It's better to know one plant and know how to use that plant in various ways, in 100 ways, than to know 100 plants and not really have a great relationship with each one. So for example, one of the plants that I really have a beautiful relationship with is sage and is also ginger. So ginger, I remember I would grow up with it all the time. If I had a sore throat, my dad would cut a piece of ginger, let me chew on it, and like it would basically be chewing a pieces of ginger, and it would help with my immune system. It would help support my throat. Garlic, I remember having to chew garlic sometimes, and that was something that I even took into my later years because it's really great for the immune and clearing, and spiritually it's really great for clearing penna, which is negative energy or lower frequencies. There are certain things, that we can really tune into, but remember, less is more. So what is one plant maybe that you can think of that you use in cooking, or maybe that you use in your tea, or you're gravitated to? And I invite you to really get to know that plant, to really get to know its spirit, to really get to know what its elements are on the physical level. What does it heal? What does it support? All these things. And just build that relationship with that one plant. And then ask yourself, how can this plant support you with so many things? It's like us, right? We have so many gifts intuitively. You know, each one of us have unique gifts that are our soul gifts, our ancestral gifts, and then our gifts that we learn in this earth time lifetime. And what these plants do is they also have gifts. And the more that you open that open relationship with their spirit, the more you'll understand, oh, they have these gifts that they are willing to share with me, right? So for example, raspberry leaf, which is amazing medicine that I work with my clients with, especially for womb and sacral healing. Raspberry leaf is amazing for menstrual pain. It's amazing for helping with any blood clots. There's so many things that it can support you with. Now, I can go and just get to know a little bit about raspberry leaf, but that wouldn't really allow myself to connect and really get to know the plant on all levels, right? So again, less is more. You know, you can have 3 plants that can literally be your staple for your whole life, and you go to these all the time, right? I remember my dad, his biggest thing was bay leaf, cinnamon, and soursop leaf. Those are the main things that he would use. Nutmeg as well. Yeah, those are the main ones he would use. And he would use it in his cocoa tea, which is like cacao. We call it cocoa tea in the Caribbean. He would use it in like his food. And it was just something that his grandmother, his mom, which is my grandmother, would teach him, right? The next thing to know about plant medicines and really how to get started is that working with plants ethically. This is one of the biggest things that I want to share. Not every plant that I connect with and I work with is something that is from my origins and my ancestors. And I think this is very important, especially in the day right now where, you know, we are working with plants all around the world, right? And understanding that these plants and this wisdom of connecting plants does come from the indigenous lineage. So one of my biggest things I always share is that we give big reverence, and we also recognize that these plants are from the indigenous, right? And whatever indigenous that is, from the lands of where it comes from and where it grows. So that's the first thing I want to share with you, is to really understand and to connect and to be aware of what are the lands that this plant that maybe you're harvesting or you're foraging is from. Have you built a relationship with the spirits and the guardians of the ancient wisdom of these lands, of the indigenous of these lands? Do you know the name of this area of the lands? These are ways to deepen your connection with the plant, and also to keep with reverence and ensure that we are doing it in the right way. So this is very, very important. The second thing I also want to share about ethically is also knowing that some plants are endangered. There are various organizations, I'm going to actually put them down below, that my teachers have taught me about, that are great to get started with, and to know that these plants are, you know, plants that are endangered. And when we know which plants are endangered, there are other plants that are out there that can support us with the same healing for our physical elements, for our spirit, and our mental mind as well. So again, I really encourage you to get to know, is there any plants in your area or that you connect with or that you use in your food that are endangered? because a lot of them, you know, even some plants that are sold in stores are not ethically taken, you know, and we also have to think of that too. You know, how is your sage being harvested? How is your Palo Santo being harvested? Is it harvesting the energy just to make money, or is it harvesting the energy to understand that this sage is, the spirit of the sage is going to be smudged and used for clearing or to put in your food, right? For example, right? So it's so important that we understand, what does ethics mean with plant medicine? And before we get started, to really, I know we get excited, to again, give reverence to where is it located, who are the caretakers of these lands, and do we have permission to harvest and also forage on these lands? Some people are just foraging and you don't have permission to go and receive. We always ask the plant, and we always ask the lineage and the ancestral guardians of the lands, right? And whatever that is, and we respect that. You know, one of the biggest things I always share with people when they come to my plant medicine retreats is I always ask them to bring something to offer the lands. And this is in their orientation. It's a must in every retreat, and I also do it when I travel. So the reason why I share this is because this is something that I learned from an amazing elder when I was in Peru. And what he said was that, you know, you would go and hike up through 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐿, Machu Picchu, and you would bring your offerings. You can bring food, you can bring cacao, you can bring coca leaves, you can bring whatever that you felt you wanted to call. But the purpose of bringing it to the destination, instead of actually getting it there and giving it to the land, is like the hike, you know, the work you did, the healing you did to move up those mountains, and you brought this offering to the lands, right? Just imagine, you know, imagine someone wrapping a gift for you and making it, as opposed to giving you a card with a gift card. The energy feels a little bit different, right? The intention there is well thought out. People are really thinking about what they want to give you. They're thinking about what you're interested in, and they're really putting love and care and tender into that. And we have to think of that when we connect with plant medicines, herbs, and work with them in our everyday life, but also when we connect with them in, you know, our nature walks, or when we go for, you know, just going to a plant medicine retreat, or we're going to them for healing. It is so crucial for this when we're working and we're getting started with plant medicine. Another thing I want to also share is respecting the spirit of the plants. So as a facilitator of 𝐾𝐨 and also a facilitator of herbal medicines, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that I have a contract with these plants. What that means, and this might be inspirational for those of you who feel this call, this medicinal path, is that understanding that I don't choose the plant. The plant chooses you, and that I am working in relation to the plant. I need to let go of my ego, throw it out the window, and I need to step into my heart. And what I mean by that is that the plants are the connection to the mass consciousness, and you are connected to the mass consciousness. So what that means is that when you feel that connection, to go in your fridge and you're going and get that herbs and you're putting them in your food, you are connected to the mass consciousness. That yes, it's great for your body, and you're feeling a little low immune and you're getting a cough and whatnot, and you put it all in. But what that's doing on a spiritual level, it's connecting to the mass consciousness for anyone else who is also feeling that. We are receiving that healing for us and for all related. So again, I really want you to understand that we are instruments with the plants, right? And we need to have this deep respect for plants. And I've seen multiple times in this space, especially in the space of plant medicine, and I would love to do a video on this, of what that looks like as a plant medicine facilitator, talking about maybe some topics that are very important right now for us to discuss, that we need to put our ego out the window and understand that it is a relation. So for example, when I work with various mushrooms, right? Each mushroom, they have their contracts. I will not force a healing with someone in whether it's food or ceremony if it doesn't feel aligned to the mushroom, if the mushroom does not want to connect and offer that, right? Just like consent, right? These plants have consent as well. So another great tip is, if you feel called to connect with a plant, whether it is going to your local herbal store, foraging, and you've had permission to do so from the spirit of the plant and the lands, I highly suggest you then connecting and asking yourself to build a relationship. Hi, how are you? Like, you know, it sounds, but it's true. Like, okay, like what does this plant want to offer me? let me listen to this plant. Let me connect with it, and then open that relation and share what you want to offer with this plant. It is a co-creation, and I always share this. This goes back to our journey. You know, we're not looking at this amazing God up in the air and we're like, we're low, where it's co-creation. We are here together. We are co-creating together. And that is what you feel called to. Maybe you're feeling called to the plants because you want to co-create and work with them, whether that is in moon ritual cycles, whether that is in your soups and your foods and herbs, whether that's in your teas or your baths or whatever that you want to do. You want to co-create with them, and that's amazing. The next thing you need to know is to keep it simple. I'm just going to keep saying this. Keep it simple, right? Sometimes when I make a tincture at home or a tea, I always decide to make it in a way that it's just like maybe one herb, right? One plant, you know? And then there's other times where I want to make a whole bunch and they all want to support me. And like, for example, I had my detoxing tea that has dandelion, raspberry leaf, nettle, so many amazing tea, like herbs in there. And it's amazing for producing bile and clearing and cleansing. And as I'm about to start a juice fast and a water fast to really cleanse my energy, I felt this would be very supportive. So these plants decided to connect with me. So keep it simple. Just go to that one rosemary. Just go to that one. And it's when we keep it simple, we also have so much power in that, right? I just heard the thunder light beings. There's thunder at my place right now as I share that. Keep it simple. And that's such a great lesson to life, right? Like, I think we want to make things so complicated, but if we were to just keep things simple, we would be able to be so guided and so much clarity in our life. So when we look at plant medicines, it's an opportunity to teach us that where do we make things complicated? Where do we complex or make things harder for ourselves? Self-sabotage, right? And these plants are teachers. They're definitely teachers. This is another point too. When we can keep it simple, we can understand that they are great teachers, that nature is our great teacher. And this is my biggest prayer for all beings, is to understand that where can we be a listener to the teacher of nature, to the tree in your backyard, to the flowers in your garden, whatever it is, to when you're walking through a hike and you're connecting with all these plants, the small ones, the big ones, and the ones you can't see. You know, these are the things that really support us. The next thing to know about how to get started with plant medicine and where to really support you is know that plants name know the plant's name. This is super important. You know, a lot of people will know, you know, one of the plants, for example, if you look at dandelion, there's a different name for every part of the dandelion. So the flower has one name, the leaves have one name, the stem have one name, the root has one name. And the reason why they have so many names is for multiple reasons. One, because there are a lot of plants out there that look very similar. And it's first knowing what plants are toxic in your region, right? This is one of the biggest things if you're interested in medicinal foraging or anything. The first place you can start is which ones are the ones that I'm not supposed to connect with, right? And I really feel like there's so much to knowing the name. For example, nettle. There's a lot of plants that are in the space of toxicity that look like nettle. And you can go out and think that it's nettle and it's not. But if you know the name of it and you really look at what the features are and what are the key points to know the difference, then you can go confidently forage. Now, obviously, that is something that I won't say this is for beginners. Like if you want to start foraging, start with the plants that are a little bit, you know, easier to forage. Like dandelion is something that we see in the backyard and it's pretty easy to forage. You know, things like that you plant, that you know that you planted and you can forage it in your garden. That's a great start. But for those of you interested in foraging and wanting to go deeper into starting that relationship, get to know how to identify it. So knowing the Latin name and knowing the English name is very supportive. So you can know the difference. And each, for example, rose, there's hundreds and hundreds of roses, and each one has a different spiritual property, a different property. It's all in its healing abilities. Even though it's rose, you think, oh, it's rose, all roses do this. No, they all have different, you know, features and different things that they do. So that's one of the biggest things. Another thing too is contradictions. You know, for a lot of you that are maybe shifting and feeling called to shift from medications and pharmaceuticals and want to go into plant medicine, understanding the process. And that's what I work with people a lot. I work with people who are wanting to heal and understand how to move away from synthetics and going into a natural route. And I can do a video on that as well if you're interested in that. Let me know down below. But one of the biggest things is knowing contradiction. So for example, if I'm working with someone with 𝐾𝐨, which is not a plant medicine, it's actually an Amazonian frog medicine. But if I work with that as well as with plants, I'm always asking them a lot of questions. I ask them about their medical history. I ask them, what are the things in their family and their lineage? These are all things to ask, because some plants will do opposite, right? So some plants will help with clearing the throat, and some might help with increasing bile, for example, right? And depending on what you're calling for, you need to kind of know which is which and what they do. But again, I'm also understanding that a lot of you are starting your journey and I don't want to overwhelm you. So the biggest thing is just to know its name, to start with that, knowing their names. And it's also a great way to speak to the spirit of the plant too. One of my biggest things I always tell people is people will say, dope, or instead of ganja or marijuana. And, I say she because she comes to me as a feminine energy. Some depends, but the ones that I've connected with are she. Some of them are neutral and some of them are masculine. But when I connect with ganja and when I connect with marijuana, they tend to have this energy that if you don't speak to them as their name, it can change the whole experience, right? So again, I really want to just stress for everyone here is that no one speak to their name. How would you feel if someone didn't call you your name? How many times have you gone to maybe a coffee shop and they write your name on the cup and it is not your name? It is not even the first letter of your name. You know exactly that feeling. You don't like it. And for those of you who've accepted it, we don't like it. Deep inside, we don't like it. So the plants also don't like it. The next thing is to ask yourself this question as a beginner, as someone who is opening the portal of connecting with conscious plants and connecting with plants. Ooh, the thunder is loud. We love that. Is that, really tuning into how I can incorporate plants in my everyday life, right? What are ways that you can incorporate plants in your everyday life? It doesn't have to be going straight to tinctures, going straight to salves. Start with what you already do and keep it simple. So how can I incorporate plants in my food? How can I incorporate plants in my teas? How can I incorporate plants in my new moon, full moon ritual with my bath? How can I incorporate plants with, if say I have an injury and I want to look up, is there actually a natural option for this, like arnica, that I can work with to help with a boo-boo on my skin? What are the things that you can do that can help and support you? So start getting curious about, just right now, do a body scan in your body. What are the things that you're feeling right now in your body? And what are the elements that you're currently going through or that are in your lineage that maybe you want to connect with to shift the DNA and to release that coding of diabetes or high blood pressure or cancer, whatever it is in your body, and to connect with a plant to heal it, right? You have that power in you to do so, and so do the plants. So if you can work as a team, it can be very supportive. So again, start to keep it simple and ask yourself, how do you ingest things and how can you bring the plant spirit into the body and connect and build that relationship for healing, deep healing. Plants are our medication. They are really our meditation, our medication. Sam Gareth has a song that I love and he talks about that. And what I mean by that is that plants are here to really shift us on such a deep level, and they are consciousness. They are coding of a certain consciousness. They support us. And when we can connect with them, whether that is through smudge, my thunder is going loud, hope you can hear me, whether it's smudging, whether it is, supporting you in ingesting, in drinking teas, whatever way it is, right? These plants can help you out. And when we can do so, it has been shown through various people that the reprogramming on a neurological level, but also on an energetic level, can be so potent that it can recode the body. I'll give you a perfect example. It has been shown that dandelion, the whole dandelion from flower to root, can be brought in a smoothie to help you reduce the size of a cancer cell and of a tumor. Just by ingesting it once, you can reduce the cells of it. Let me give you another example. There's a beautiful plant from Peru called 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞, which is one of my favorite plants to work with when I'm working with someone that has something in the bloodstream or in the body that is attacking the body. So like, it could be cancer cells, it could be like a blood cleanser, so something within the blood, a disease or an element through the blood. It's amazing for this, but it's a very strong plant. And again, we have to look at the contradictions and all those things, which is something that I go through with my clients. But one of the biggest things with this plant, it is shown to actually clear and cleanse and remove anything that is not supporting the body, that is attacking the healthy cells, right? So this may come up by sweating, nausea, it may come up by going to the bathroom, but it supports you. And over time, you can actually see there's a difference even in clearer in the eyes. There's various things that people can experience through it. And this plant, people can actually diet doing a traditional dieta, which is very common in places such as Peru and in Brazil. For example, I've done dietas in the jungle with maestros and maestras with a certain master plant. And that's another thing too. There's certain plants that are very powerful and you can continue to take them over a long period of time with a maestro or curandero, a shaman that can actually help and facilitate it. And it's very beautiful. It's amazing. You're in solitude. You are in a hut. You're disconnected. You're really connected into yourself. And the miracles I've seen, like it's helped me heal an ulcer. It's helped me heal very painful endometriosis. I've healed my endometriosis through plants. It's been potent. Also through dieta and working that and embodying that in my integration through the plants I have at home. So if that's something you're interested in and you'd love to sit with plants, sit with powerful plants that can support you heal in a dieta and experience that, you can go and apply for my retreats down below or check out my website. The last point of how to get started with plant medicines, it's probably one of my favorite and one that you can start doing today. And before you even start the relationship with any plants, this is so important. And you could do this right now. How can you be a caretaker of the lands? Today is a very important day, as it is yesterday and tomorrow. And I think now more than ever, we are so called to connect with plants and to go for healing, but also asking ourselves the give and take, the receive, and also the giving. And what can you do right now to be caretakers of your lands in your current place where you live? So a great thing that I love is right now I'm so excited it's raining because I love that for my garden. And I'm planting a huge garden in my backyard right now with herbs, with vegetables, with fruits, all the things, and flowers for the bees. And that is being a caretaker, right? It doesn't, if you're in a condo too, like you can even do a nice little on your balcony or in your house. How can you be caretakers of the land and give, you know, vitality to our earth? Because our earth is everything. It helps us be here in our bodies. It gives us water, it gives us food, it gives us nutrition, it gives us medication. It heals us. But one of the biggest things is the more that we become caretakers to the land, the more that we end up working with the energies of the land, working and weaving and aligning with nature's rhythms. And that's really what it talks about. My biggest, deepest prayer for everyone is to connect with their nature's rhythms. And we know that our ancestors used to, right? My grandmother did. Her nature rhythms was noticing how I felt, having experienced that these symptoms was a cold, was a flu, was the asthma. And would go to the plants and intuitively just put in the plants in the pot and boil it. And then I would drink it. And I would be cleansing and she would check in on me and tune in and see, are you okay? Like, how are you feeling? Check in, you know, grandmas, right? And I'm so grateful I got that. And it's understanding that when we can be stewards of the land will support us. The universe will support us. The unseen, the God, creator, whatever that you connect with will support you. And we have to understand that this is our birthright. This is something that we came here to experience. Right? So part of our responsibility, the moment you ask, how do I get started with herbs? How do I get started with plants? How you get started is by listening to the plants, listening to nature, noticing what's growing more in your lands, what's growing less in your lands, what is happening with the trees in your lands. Are you seeing a lot of them abundant or a lot of them dying? Like what ways can you give? And it can be as simple as what I've done, which is building a garden so more bees and can do their work and more butterflies can do their work. And then with that is a cycle. So then the plants that I've also grown have done their work, and nature is giving as much as I'm giving, right? So if you are in a space where you're really calling in to shift your life, I can say that plants are the best teachers and nature is. And it tells you, what are you giving and what are you receiving? And it teaches you and it mirrors that back to you in your healing. And that's why when I work with people with healing elements and connecting, whether that's energy healing and working with a plant or, doing a breath work, I always ask them, what are you doing right now to start with your healing? And through just them telling me their habits and what they do and everything, I can tell what their relation is with plants, what their relation is with themselves, because plants are the mirror of self. Nature is the mirror of self. You are nature. I really hope that this video was supportive for you. I hope that this inspires you to get started, whether that is being a steward of your lands, getting to check out and see, what are the things I can do right now? It can be as simple as creating a little herb box or, noticing, a plant that's in an area and maybe there's a lot of, pollution around it. There's a lot of garbage around it, picking it up. Or maybe for you, it's understanding that, instead of going over the counter and getting something at my pharmacy, I'm going to see if there's maybe an alternative for that. And I'm going to connect with my nature instead of numbing it, right? And I do believe that plants don't numb, they heal. We're here to heal ourselves, to have a peaceful, free life. And that's what these plants can provide us. Should we respect them? Should we understand them? Should we listen? And should we receive the wisdom that they have? So if you feel like you've gotten a lot of information and a lot of energy and a lot of clarity from this, I highly suggest you sharing this with your family and friends, as my deepest prayer is for all of us to connect and heal through our template, our DNA, our being, who we are, our divinity. And through that, if you heal yourself and you share it with others, then we can all heal. And that helps the greater collective, coming back to nature, coming back to our true self and our divinity. So I would love for you to share, like, subscribe, and, share a comment. What was your biggest takeaway from this video? And if you'd like, what are some things that you would like to learn about plant medicine? Put it down below. And I would love to also invite you that I am offering with collaboration with amazing maestros, maestras this year and in the years to come. So go check out my website as well as the application form down below for a plant medicine retreat where you can experience dieta, you can experience healing and various other plant medicine experiences as well. And if you're interested in working with me one-on-one and maybe you feel this call to heal your elements, please go apply to my one-on-ones as well as my programs that will be linked in the link tree. I am wishing you a happy connection with the plants and with nature, and I'll see you in the next video.